Jack Connor here with Sebastien and Trishank for the Ultimate Nick Cage podcast. We're three friends, three philosophers, as Trishank just said, which, I think that sounds totally legit. But, we talk about movies a lot on Twitter, and I know all three of us kind of love Nick Cage. He's an interesting actor with a long filmography that we are going to get into. But yeah, we thought it'd be fun to come here and talk to you, although we do have a specific reason, or maybe I should say catalyst, for getting together. I'll let Sebastien explain that. Sebastien.
So, I think we saw, we're all also great fans of Nassim Taleb, and I think we saw a tweet a few weeks back now where he referenced Nick Cage, and I think what surprised me the most was that he'd never heard of the guy. Which is just a testament to the power of Nassim's filter.
Not surprising in hindsight at all, but yes.
Superhuman filtering. So I will stick a screenshot of that tweet up for you guys when you're watching this. But
so the guy that he retweeted, Gene Callahan, Dr. Gene Callahan, is a friend. Is a friend, and I'm very sad to say, a friend who betrayed us, a friend who dissed on Nicolas Cage, which is why we're all here, offended.
What did he say? And where is this guy?
Something like, it's not surprising that people who watch. So Nassim's original tweet and Gene's original tweet was making fun of this correlations. Nassim had just given a mini talk about correlations, and he likes to bring up this example from Tyler Bergen saying it's purest correlation. A graph saying people who watch Nicolas Cage movies tend to drown in swimming pools. This might be true. There might be a causation effect to it. There might legitimately be. And so our friend Gene said, obviously, I mean, that's not surprising. So we're here to defend. We're here to defend Mr. Cage's reputation.
Fantastic. I think he's a real controversial figure. I don't know if you guys have Marmite in the USA, but here it's like a sweet syrup, and you spread it on bread. And we say in the UK, if it's a Marmite issue, it really means you either love it or hate it. There's no in between. And I think Nick Cage is like that.
Gooey stuff, right?
That's the one. And Nick Cage is Marmite. He's the Marmite of actors, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes,
he is. He's definitely a Marmite. I feel like he would appreciate getting called that for some weird reason.
I think so. I think more than any award you could give him, yes, calling him Marmite of the decade or century.
Marmite. And if you're in Australia, I think it's called Vegemite there. For the Australians listening to this, he's a Vegemite actor.
We do not. Yeah, we don't have it over here.
In America,
I'm posting both of you guys some Marmite.
Okay.
And Nicolas Cage,
eat it, just so you know.
I think I can explain it pretty easily. This this splitting dichotomy. Just to be a true Nick Cage fan, kind of two things have to happen. So one is certain people just find him annoying. But that's fair. This is like my girlfriend example, for example, who can't watch 5 minutes of him in anything without complaining about it. But, every actor has their haters, right? It's we're not, for me, it's Shia LaBeouf. I cannot watch Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, Shia LaBeouf, let's not even get
I hate him.
Now you're making
me hate him, but I cannot watch him.
I can't do it.
The other is, and I'll give you a counterexample, is someone like Brad Pitt, who is not every movie's perfect, but his record is pretty damn good. But he's
universally loved, which is great.
He picks and chooses great movies. Nicolas Cage, you got to deal with a lot of shitty movies that Nicolas Cage has made, but find the gold in the really good stuff.
Hey, like, this is not true. Brad Pitt has his shitty movies too, but you're right, at a much lower rate.
Well, I did see Mr. and Mrs. Smith. This is true.
Does Brad Pitt suffer from this effect though, where if someone's really pretty, you'll basically watch them in anything? There's like a huge boost factor there, where attractiveness can bring up acting quality, I think.
Good point. Very good point. Yeah.
He definitely was a pretty boy who was, he was the headliner in the 90s when it was all about being a star. But I have heard he started a production agency pretty early, and he only did one movie a year, if that, for a long time. And now he does them every couple of years. So he was, I think he was pretty good. Johnny Depp had a little bit of this, in the 90s, not being in a ton of movies, but, Brad Pitt did. 12 Monkeys, Fight Club.
Yeah, right.
7 Years in Tibet, River runs through the River Wild, and those aren't all
What's a serial killer movie?
California.
No.
Cool.
The one with David Fincher.
7.
There we go. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
A great movie. I mean, these are home run movies, and he's doing it back to back to back. And a lot of actors, at their peak, get to pick and choose the roles. If you're George Clooney right after Ocean's 11, you could have almost any movie you wanted. But I think Brad Pitt, he did have a somewhat genius level at picking his roles.
Interesting.
Compared to our friend Nick Cage, who did that early on, and we're gonna get to the bankruptcy and the pyramids and the
we need to save our friend from himself. Yes.
Yeah. So there was causes, but I think Nick Cage also doesn't give a shit. I heard an interview where he said he did the movie Season of the Witch because he was so stoked about the fact that he got shot in the eyeball in it. And then immediately after, I watched the movie Drive Angry 3D, which is, by the way, a secret classic that nobody talks about.
Drive Angry 3D?
It's called Drive Angry. It's awesome. It's sort of an Evil Dead type movie. I mean, if you have a love of sort of crazy horror, but this is exactly what it's trying to be. And it's basically a car horror movie. Again, it's sort of indefensible, but yet I've seen it 3 or 4 times and loved it.
And I'm sure Nicolas Cage was perfect for the role. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, yeah, he escaped from hell to save his daughter from a cult.
Oh, dude,
using a muscle car.
Only Nick Cage
gets shot in the face. Does half the role with one eye missing, which I'm sure made him happy.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm sold.
Have you guys seen this new... I literally only saw it on Twitter today. I know nothing about it apart from a one-line sentence, but it sounds amazing. This new film he's doing, Pig, I think it's called.
Yeah, which is why we did this whole thing. Yeah, partly.
Amazing. It was something like a truffle farmer has his pig kidnapped and goes on a vengeance quest to rescue his pig. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
And someone read the script and said, the casting director or whoever it is, they have these fancy titles, right? Like CPA or whatever. PGA, whatever the hell it is. Someone said Nick Cage. Yeah. And we will pay whatever money it takes.
Yeah. I actually think he's a perfect actor for scripts like this. Like, if studios want to experiment now, I think they've become a lot more boring studios recently. But if there's an experimental script, I think they'd just be like, fuck it, let's get Nicolas Cage. Because even if it's crap, it will have a cult following.
Yeah. And there's genius to the two. I mean, you're both big fans of, Talebian, Nassim Taleb ways of thinking. Shashank, you, of course, teach at his, during his RWRI course. And there's an element of small bets to this because he's got to make 5 movies a year at least. Mm-hmm. But last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, Mandy came out. Surprise hit. That was one of these movies.
Mandy was
low budget
good.
Horror movie.
Mandy was really, really good. We need to talk about it.
And it was interesting. Yeah, we definitely need to talk about Andy. And that was, on paper, that looked exactly like the Pig movie. It looked like another bullshit Nicolas Cage movie.
I know, but
by a young director.
It wouldn't have been same without him, right? It's just not the same.
So he's anti-fragile and still producing hits at a greater rate than Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt has to keep nailing home runs, but Nicolas Cage is just
okay. So let me say what I think is the difference between someone like Brad Pitt and Nick Cage. So Brad Pitt chooses movies carefully. Good. He doesn't take risks. Not really. Someone like Nick Cage takes risk, and yeah, sure, you shit on him, but it's not easy taking risks like the guy does.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Pitt would never take risks like that because he cares about his reputation too much. He's a pretty boy. Don't get me wrong. He's good. He's good at what he does. I've never seen a guy make eating hot dog look so cool as Brad Pitt does. What is that movie? Ocean's 11. Crazy. That's how they basically introduced him, right? I don't think even Nick Cage could do that.
But that's fragile, man.
Exactly. Brad Pitt. Did you guys hear the story about Brad Pitt and what is that rapist's name? Do you guys remember? The Me Too guy. What is his name?
Oh, Kevin Spacey?
No, the big fat guy. What's his name? The director.
Oh, Harvey Weinstein, the producer.
Harvey Weinstein. Weinstein.
Yeah.
There's a story about Brad Pitt. Do you guys remember? His girlfriend, I forgot what her name was basically, kind of seduced, for the lack of a better word, by this fellow. And Brad Pitt, all he did was basically, hey, hands off her. But he didn't call out publicly. He didn't call out. He didn't tell anyone, right? He just kept it quiet, like everybody else. So Brad Pitt doesn't exactly. He plays a hero. He's not one. Not that this is shocking, but you get that.
He's very savvy at his career. I mean, I'm sure, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but the thing is, Brad Pitt did take risks early on. Like Thelma and Louise is where he got his big start, and he played a bit part in it as like a robber. Where he really stood out, like he was in it for 5 minutes and everybody remembers his role, or like True Romance, or 12 Monkeys, which is
12 Monkeys was great. 12 Monkeys was a great movie.
At a certain point, he just starts playing the pretty boy lead character, like World War Z, where he could have been Chris Pine, it could have been Clooney, it could have been any character dropped into that role, and they would have done a serviceable job like he did.
Interesting.
But
all the new Brad Pitt movies are not memorable. I don't know about you guys, but I don't remember anything new he's made.
No.
Yeah.
Should we talk about Mandy a little bit? I want to hear movies, and I want to hear movies from Nicolas Cage that you guys love, because he is or at least really like or really enjoy. Because as we said, he's a movie where he's a character, or like an actor, where it's all about finding the true hits, amongst various things around it. But I could talk for days about Raising Arizona.
You guys start, please. Who's going to start? Seb?
Sebastian, why don't you give us a movie by Nicolas Cage that you love?
Before I give you the movie, I want to add one thing to Trishank was saying, which was about Nicolas Cage taking more risks. And I think you're really onto something here, because a lot of big name actors, they have to take crazy risks at the start. The failure rate is huge. But once they latch onto something, they're more famous. They actually become quite fragile, because they only need to have 2 or 3 stinkers in a row, and their career tanks. You look at Halle Berry, who was like Golden Girl, and then she had like 3-4 bad films in a row, and her career disappeared. And they're quite fragile. Where you look at Nicolas Cage, who does not give a shit. And in a way, that makes him...
It's great. That's the beautiful thing about him.
He doesn't.
Generally doesn't care. Yeah.
And it makes him stronger. He could do like 10 really bad movies in a row, and he would still get hired. It's like he's created almost... I don't want to say anti-fragile, because I don't think that's the correct word, but he's certainly a lot less fragile than a lot of Hollywood actors who've got the kind of longevity, have been around for as long as him. It seems the longer they're around, the more fragile they become. But anyway, that being said,
if I may jump on that part, another aspect to look at, the Pig movie, because I saw the poster for that Pig movie, and he's big and he's hairy, and he's clearly been eating a lot. And Mandy, he kind of was that too, but this plays into it. He's Brad Pitt. If Brad Pitt's going to show up in a movie in 2021, he's going to have a 6-pack or something close to it. Exactly. And Nicolas Cage can just, if he gets bigger, he goes for bigger roles. When he was buff, he'd go for buff roles. When he's, shaved, I'm sure if he shaves his head for one role, he'll like do 3 roles.
Who's like that? Who's like that? It's interesting. What is his name? God damn it, the Batman. What is his name?
Keaton?
Christian Bale.
Oh,
yeah.
Crazy. The kind of things he did for The Machinist, and then Batman Begins right after. Insane.
the timeline was only from Machinist to the first Batman film was like 9 months. Yeah. And if you look at them from going like almost, skeletal to really beefed up, I don't know how much I can say on this podcast without getting takedowns or lawyer things, but I'm not sure that was just Hollywood.
Oh, sure.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah, there we go. That's the safe word. That's the safe word. There we go.
Yeah, that's the safe word. For anything we say, it's allegedly something we heard. Okay, so now I have a strong argument off this. Argument number one, why Nicolas Cage is in fact a great actor.
Yes,
is because he's not confined to one role. He does all these different roles. And a lot of times, now he is a variation of Nicolas Cage in most of them, but he does a lot of different stuff, and he carries off a lot of very, very different parts.
Mm-hmm.
Three of my favorite Nicolas Cage movies are Raising Arizona, Leaving Las Vegas, which is really hard to watch, but
it's a terrible movie. It's really awful, to be honest. I still can't believe I finished watching it.
It's difficult. I would say it is, from my perspective, it's one of the best movies ever made about addiction. And that's what I find impressive about it, because it's very realistic.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also depressingly, it's about Nicolas Cage going to Las Vegas to drink himself to death. So it's a little bit depressing. And then like Con Air / Face Off. Funny story, apparently he was, after they wrapped on Con Air, within 48 hours, he was on the set of Face Off to start filming.
Oh, wow.
No way.
There's a similar energy in those two films, though. So I kind of get it.
Absolutely.
And they were
but
90s
he's so
movies.
Different in all those.
Yeah, exactly. And they were 90s movies that could never be made again. You just need that special time and place, right?
Mm-hmm.
John Woo with the 2 guns. I mean, come on.
I feel like you could do a whole hour just on Con Air alone, to be honest.
Yes.
And out of all the films, that's the one. You could do a PhD thesis on Con Air from a kind of...
I don't want to watch the movie again, because the last time I saw it was probably 97, and I want to keep it that way. I'm pretty sure it hasn't aged, but who gives a crap? At that time, that movie was...
It's held up, man. I watched it about 6 weeks ago with my girlfriend who had never seen Con Air. And
nice.
It romances you. Con Air romances you, because you start watching it, and it's like, this film is so bad, and I want to hate it so much. But then... it has this charm that kind of slowly wins you over. And by kind of midway, you're just totally sucked in. And you're right about the 90s thing going beyond Nick Cage. It kind of has, it's like the ultimate 90s action movie. And it just charms you into loving it.
I would say about Con Air, too, the reason I think you should watch it as a lover of Nick Cage movies, but also as a person I know who watches, appreciates cinema and appreciates action movies, is it still looks fucking great, because there is probably not true, but there is either zero or almost zero CGI in it. So it's like, I mean, they drag, they get an at one point, the dickhead police officer is like hassling, what's his name?
Cole Mimi.
The guy
Cole Mimi?
Yeah, Cole Mimi is, and then the guy, the former boy actor, you know what I mean? From Say Anything.
Mm-hmm.
John Cusack. So he's hassling John Cusack the entire movie.
Of course, John Cusack is in the fucking movie. I forgot. And he's great in it. And at one point, Cole Mini is like, he drives up in this like fancy, restored, like beautiful, like 1950s, like GTO or something. And he makes this big speech. He's like, nothing better happened to my car. And it's like Chekhov's car, where you're just like, dude, that thing is falling out of an airplane for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
And at one point, it's attached to the airplane, and it takes off, and then it like hits the tower and just like, breaks off.
Yeah.
And you look at it, and you're like, dude, they smashed a fucking car off an airplane into that thing.
Well, talking about no CGI, Jack, you'll remember the end. Trishank, it's been a while, but spoiler alert, at the end of the film, the climax is they land the kind of injured crashing plane onto the Las Vegas Strip. And They actually, there was no CGI for this. Sands Hotel and Casino was actually due to be demolished. And the guys actually said, look, you're demolishing this casino anyway. Mind if we crash a plane into it through the front lobby? And they were like, hell yeah.
You are kidding.
No. So they're like, yeah, fuck it. Like, sorry, pardon my language. Yeah, let's just do it. We were demolishing it anyway. So one of the rare instances of zero CGI, just amazing stunt.
I love it.
That is so great.
So we need to talk about this. Movies went to shit when they introduced CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a few exceptions. You know, I don't claim to be an absolutist. I'm not religious about it. But I'll give another example. I just watched Gladiator, and you know, like, yeah, I've seen.
It was a good movie.
And
Gladiator was a good movie.
Gladiator looks better than it's ever looked. And so, for an example, in that early war scene where they're in the forest, and it's like it's the Northmen kind of marauders versus the Romans that are led by Russell Crowe, the badass.
Yeah.
And they're like hurling these giant cannonballs, and he does a long shot with like hundreds of extras, all these like medieval weapons. And I was like, it really looks like they're smashing flaming cannonballs into giant trees. And I looked it up, and it was similar, where there was a forest in Germany that was to be cleared. And so they got permission to like recreate this battle in it, including throwing giant flaming catapult balls at like trees and forts they put up in there and stuff like that. And it looks spectacular, dude. Like Marvel, I was reading about this recently where CGI itself, is apparently it itself is to a certain extent getting worse because so much of it's being offshored for cost reasons.
Mm-hmm.
They're like post Life of
Production.
Pi.
Yeah.
Life of Pi won the Oscar at the same time that the CG house that did all of the work for Life of Pi went out of business.
Life of Pi looked good. Good.
But apparently after that, the lesson learned was like you should get this shit done in like North Korea or like the Philippines or stuff like that. And then I've always thought CGI was kind of weightless. I mean, there are a few exceptions. I genuinely think the movie Tron Legacy looks really good. I think the movie Oblivion looks really good. They're both by the same director, so maybe he's really talented. I think Guillermo del Toro, he does really good CGI creatures. He's one of the few people I've ever seen that can make Hellboy, which they're
more importantly about Guillermo del Toro is that he has a heart. His stories have got heart.
Maybe that's part of the reason that they land. I couldn't tell you, but when I watch Marvel, it kind of like it feels like it's on cartoon mode for half the movie.
It's terrible. I can't watch a single Zack Snyder movie now without falling asleep. I don't know about you guys. Do it. It's just awful. I'm like, how do people watch this stuff?
Yeah.
It's just right. If you have insomnia, please watch Zack Snyder movies. It's just awful. I can't do it.
But I think for the first time in history, No, I was going to say, in conclusion for me, I think for the first time in history, older movies are actually starting to look better. Normally it's just on a straight progression of things looking dated, but these days the practical effects era, and dude, come on, Mad Max, that took the world by storm.
Yeah.
And went viral in so many ways, and I love that movie. And one of the things about it is it is a practical effects bonanza, as are the Fast and Furious movies. Fast 9's about to come out. That would be a cool podcast.
I love Fast and Furious. Completely brainless, but just wait.
All right.
It knows it's brainless. I think that's it's more of a Con Air than it is.
They took Con Air and said, how crazy can we go with this? Let's do it for 9 fucking movies. They did it.
How has Nick Cage not been in a Fast and
Furious
movie?
I know. That's a great question. Yeah.
I thought he had.
I don't know.
No, I've never seen a Fast and Furious movie, so I have no idea.
What?
But I assumed
what is wrong with you?
I'm almost as bad as Nassim. Like, never have heard of Nick Cage. No, but I want to loop it back to Nick Cage. So, Jack, give us your favorite or maybe most unappreciated Nick Cage film.
Okay. I think I might. This might need to be like a thing where there's like various prizes, but as somebody has a history of addiction in my family, leaving Las Vegas was a mind-blowing movie. Super hard to watch, but on one very specific angle, I've never seen anything like it. So that gets into some kind of underappreciated category. Now it's depressing, but it's part of it is just super realistic. I really love Raising Arizona. Raising Arizona has got to be my favorite comedy. I've just seen that movie 100 times, and I think it's held up. Well, it was always kind of a little funky. Like the ending's kind of weird. The intro is. It is one of those movies though where the Coen brothers sometimes have this problem where that it has that super long intro, and that is the best part of the movie. And so it's kind of like, it's almost like when you watch it, you just, after the intro, you're like, oh man, that was the peak. And then the Nick Cage action phase. So I would go, Face Off. I think Con Air might be the best. I think Con Air is like, we make fun of it and it's kind of cheesy and stuff, but I think if you, on a storytelling level and all that, it's actually really like quite strong. I think that Con Air is like, a 4.5 out of 5 star movie or something like that. Whereas Face Off is like a 3.5 out of 5, but it's more about the insane over the top Travolta and all of just, oh my God, it's just batshit insane, So that's my list. What about you guys?
Trishank?
Yeah, good question. I'm trying to think. Mandy was definitely a very surprising. It was a sleeper hit. If that's the word for it. Mandy was really good. You couldn't have done better.
I love that movie.
It's got this really nice. The story hits you. The story is great. It's awful. It's a story about revenge. It's really good. And it hits you. It's got this retro feel to it. Music, synth, the 80s feel to it, the neon lights. It's great. But I think as a kid, let's see, Face Off, Con Air, Lord of War. Very underappreciated.
Yes. Love that film.
Lord of War.
Oh, it's such a good film.
I've seen the intro where it's like.
You have got to see Lord of War.
Okay.
It's in my top 5 Nicolas Cage films, Jack. You have got to watch it. It really is fantastic. I'm surprised more people don't talk about it. It's a classic. It's a masterpiece. Phenomenal. Not just about. I think it preceded Blood Diamond, about Conflict Diamond. I know this is more about the illegal war trade, but
I suspect you're right. Yeah.
And it managed to combine Nicolas Cage in a good role, which is difficult at the best of times, with something that genuinely tackled kind of a geopolitical issue, but also just made it seem so damn cool. It's like, I know illegal arms trading is a terrible, terrible thing, but damn, Nicolas Cage is cool as this, and I kind of want to be him. Like, it's like a conflict in my mind. You know what I mean, Trishank?
He definitely made it look slick. There's no question about it.
Glamorous.
Also, Bridget Moynihan was in the thing. I'm trying to think of other underrated. You guys haven't talked about this. We need to talk about it, okay? It's severely underrated. I know it's going to be controversial. City of Angels. Come on. That's it. I know it's sappy. I
have seen it.
Any movie with Meg Ryan is going to be sappy.
I remember watching it. I remember almost nothing about it.
I saw that movie in the theater. I was in junior high. I was like sitting by a girl that I had a crush on,
Yeah.
13 years
it's
old.
It's a movie you have to watch for another girl. Absolutely. There's no question
that was definitely a Nicolas Cage at his peak movie. I mean, that was a big summer block. That was the summer, it was like
money.
a Meet Joe Black kind of thing. Yeah. Had that song in it,
Yeah.
Don't tell the world.
Whatever. You're right. Yeah.
To me, it was almost an attempt at let's try and make Nicolas Cage more of a stereotypical leading Hollywood man. That's what that film seems like it was to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys remember, but that was also around the year where they tried to turn Tom Hanks again with Meg Ryan, You've Got Mail, all this romantic movies came out. It just was a thing back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's an honourable mention. I'd need to rewatch it. I have the vaguest memory of the outline. He's like a guardian angel or something, isn't he? Or something like no, isn't he like an angel? That's or I completely got this.
He's an angel who
falls in love
he's
with
an
Meg
angel
Ryan
who gives up his status to fall in love with a mortal.
Right.
Oh, my heart.
I know. Someone tells you that they're like Nick Cage. No, it was a thing.
Well,
no, I'm sure. I vaguely remember there was like some pretty good, either a good writer or a good director behind it. I mean, that was like again, that was a movie at its peak.
Mm-hmm.
The ending is good. Should I spoil it for you guys? Let me tell you why the ending impresses me.
Yeah, what is City of Angels again?
Meg Ryan dies. She dies. So he gave up his angel status basically for nothing. And I think the spoiler might even have been that he knows that she would die. And he still did it anyway, to become a human, just to be with her for a temporary time.
Oh,
that's odd. If that doesn't get you, I don't know what does.
Yeah, well, I kind of like a movie. At least it's an interesting moral dilemma that makes you think. You remember it all these years later, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It almost has a kind of Greek mythology vibe to it. Like, guy gives up immortality for the love of a woman. I can see that in Greek mythology.
Greek mythology meets Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, all right, guys, I'm super happy neither of you said mine because I didn't have a backup. And I took the danger of going last. I think it's really underrated. I love it. It's a great Nicolas Cage film. Adaptation.
Yes.
I've never seen it. I've heard a lot about this movie, but I've never seen it.
Jack,
you should do it.
Jack, get off this podcast, man. What's that?
The guy who hasn't seen Adaptation called himself a Nick Cage fan. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think
phenomenal. For me, the closest comparison, and I think it was around about the same time as well, is kind of being John Malkovich and just trying to be like really meta film.
Same writer, right?
Same writer.
Was it? I didn't know that. I did not know that. There you go.
It is.
There you go.
So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just have to interject something. I expected more from both of them, from both Charlie Kaufman, the writer, and Nicolas Cage. The movie disappointed me.
A controversial opinion. I don't think I've ever heard a negative opinion of it. Let's hear it. I want to hear this conversation.
I don't remember why, but I remember the movie disappointed me because it just wasn't as good as being John Malkovich.
I'll tell you what it is. Yeah. Like the first.
I know the ending, so you don't have to worry about spoiling it.
I'm not going to spoil it. All I'm going to say is I think the first two acts are really strong, and maybe the third act just lets it down a little bit. It doesn't have as satisfying an ending. It just kind of ends. Which maybe was intentional. Maybe they were trying to do that. It's just a movie that ends kind of thing, and it kind of backfired. But I think it's phenomenal. I love.
Have you seen the new Charlie Kaufman movie on Netflix? What is it called? I can't remember. I have to look it up.
I saw his last movie, the claymation one, and it was like one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Again, Charlie Kaufman is interesting. He's like the Nick Cage of screenwriters. It's very hit or miss.
He goes for it. He goes for it, absolutely. And I really like the one about the Michel Gondry and The Dreaming was pretty good. And then the Eternal Sunshine was really good.
Oh, Eternal Sunshine was fantastic. You know who else is underrated? A friend, what's his name? What the fuck is his name? God damn it. Who's the guy in Eternal Sunshine?
Jim Carrey?
Jim Carrey, oh my god.
Yeah.
I mean, people like to peg him as a comedian. It's like this guy who makes silly faces.
Next
he is
podcast.
A great actor. Yeah, next podcast.
The
underrated, Show, fantastic.
Underrated Truman Show, obviously. But did you see The Majestic? Really underrated. If you want Jim Cage non-comedy role, The Majestic is phenomenal. I'd highly recommend it. And again, it's one of those ones that people just don't remember.
Mm-hmm. Well,
the guy can act. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, he can. Sorry, I didn't mean to change the topic there. Like I always liked the Truman Show, and I always really liked the Cable Guy. And in Cable Guy, it's not
Amazing.
a good movie, but it's also like
It's
a
creepy.
great movie.
I love it.
It's creepy as hell, and it gets creepier every time you watch it.
Right.
He's good in it. Yeah.
It's the great thing I love about the Cable Guy as well. Apart from I do genuinely love that film. It's really interesting from a historical standpoint because it came out just as kind of the internet was catching on, and there's this whole speech where he's standing under the satellite dish where he's like, imagine, back when we were still using the information superhighway, which is dated terribly but he's like, imagine somebody in China playing video games with someone in America and high streaming content, and then it just gives this really really accurate speed, like way ahead of its time. He predicted pretty much where we are now, and I think that it just captures that inflection point in history where we were just maybe coming off dial-up or starting to think about coming off dial-up. Really cool bit.
That's a movie I wouldn't mind rewatching at some point.
Yeah, I might just do it too. So guys, it just occurred to me, it would be remiss if we did not talk about movies Nick Cage should not have done.
Well, okay, so I wanted to ask, I have two thoughts to this. I wanted to ask your guys' opinions on the Knight Rider series,
Ghost Rider
series. Yeah, the Ghost Rider series.
The Flaming Skull.
And then I also wanted to ask about Vampire's Kiss. If you guys have seen that, that would be a good one to talk about. But if you haven't,
I've seen neither of those.
Yeah. Ghost Rider I kind of enjoyed, but I also get why people would think it was terrible. The first one, I mean, they're wildly different. Have you, Trishank, have you seen either or?
No, sadly.
I refuse to watch them. I saw the trailer for the Flaming Skull. I
could not do the Flaming Skull movie, whatever it was
No
called.
way. No way.
Yeah. They're both a B- at best. You know what I mean?
That's generous.
So, like, there's a little bit of fun to be had. The second one's kind of cool. It was made by this, like, the duo that did the Crank movies, and it has this, like, handheld look where they did all these, like, cool motorcycle stunts that were, like,
interesting.
So there was some cool stuff in that one. The first one looks like exactly like what you think it would be. Like, everything is, like, too shiny. It has almost like a Marvel, like, it's very PG-13. And then the Flaming Skull looks stupid, and he's like driving on buildings and it looks stupid. Nicolas Cage actually, like, the only way the movie could be saved, which to a certain extent it is kind of did in the second one, but is also in Drive Angry, that movie I was talking about. He does all this 10 million times better. But what he doesn't, but it's like in the Ghost Rider movies, he doesn't crank it up to 11. He's kind of muted. You know what I mean? And they're sort of meh. Vampire's Kiss is this insane movie he made where you can't tell if he's going crazy or turning into a vampire, and it takes place in New York. There was a supercut that went viral from it because they filmed it really low budget at the beginning. It was cool, like very beginning, like he was 23, 24 years old. And there was all these scenes where he's running around New York yelling like, I'm a vampire. And they filmed it by just Nicolas Cage was like running around 50, in Manhattan, just freaking everybody out. Yeah, in the 80s, exactly. But if you guys haven't seen, that's one that it's almost like The Room. It almost has to be seen to be believed.
Oh, I see. Okay. Interesting. I haven't seen Nick Cage in his young, because we started talking about this on Twitter. Someone started sending me clips of him playing a romantic lead in a teenage movie. Do you guys remember that? What is this movie?
Was it in like a mall or something? Like it was a teen movie?
He was supposed to play a teenager, right? And this other girl. And it's just a movie about them falling in love, I think, which I thought was charming.
Valley Girl?
Valley Girl.
Valley Girl?
Valley Girl. Valley, whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. Our friend Virgil then mentioned it. Yeah. And I was like, I've never seen this Nicolas Cage. This is interesting.
I've not seen Valley Girl, but it's one of those plethora of movies from that time period, which, as someone who grew up outside of the US, kind of made me idealize US culture and want to hang out at malls all day and stuff like that. I think in terms of bad Nicolas Cage movies, I think the one that... So I want to talk about the National Treasure series very briefly, because the first...
Okay. Get into it.
The first National Treasure movie is kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. I know it gets slated, but I like it for what it was.
It's a great movie. It's
great.
I think it's good.
It's great.
Really, yeah.
It's Indiana Jones meets, piggybacked off the whole Da Vinci Code fad that was happening around the same time.
That's right.
And it's great. I loved it for what it is. Now the sequel, like most big budget sequels, they just take the same formula and repeat it, and hope. Normally it's just slightly worse. For some reason, and I don't know why, I found the sequel absolutely terrible, like really, really awful. And I think it's because they stretch credibility. I can suspend disbelief for Indiana Jones and Da Vinci Code, or we like tenuously weave in. But the sequel just went like to a different degree of ridiculousness with these clues or whatever you want to call them, and I found it laughable and unwatchable. So that's my Nick Cage stinker.
Interesting.
Let me ask you about the first National Treasure. Do you think if someone else had been in it, it still would have been good? Or do you think Nick Cage brought up the...
I think it's a difficult one.
I think it's been a while since I've seen it, but I vaguely remember, because I was thinking about the fact that Brendan Fraser made a similar movie. Was it something to the center of the earth, and then The Rock made a similar movie. And nobody remembers those, and people really like National Treasure. And I think maybe like an aura of Nicolas Cage-ness. This is a type of movie, and this is the genius of Nicolas Cage, or in a Mandy, is that, and they seem like wildly different movies, but in a weird, you don't expect to hear the phrase Nicolas Cage grounded that movie, but he actually makes these characters somewhat believable, because he's so crazy that you're like, oh, it's like Nicolas Cage, and he kind of pulls it off.
The Rock, same thing.
Oh, I love The Rock. That's my favorite Nicolas Cage movie.
You watch Nicolas Cage in The Rock against, what's his name, Sean Connery. You're like, Sean Connery's a badass. Nicolas Cage is a complete fucking nerd in this movie.
But he's this uptight. He plays this uptight techie bomb nerd, which on paper doesn't sound like it should work. But
works.
He's turns his tics into a thing, and it's a take on the character that totally works. It's great.
There's a weird simpatico between the two of them. And there's this whole conspiracy theory on the internet that is meticulously researched. That in The Rock, he is James Bond. And that is actually an extension of the James Bond franchise. And I read this whole post about the six films that he did, like the dates where he was imprisoned in Alcatraz, perfectly lined up. I'm not a huge Bond fan, but the film right before he was imprisoned, he ends up in America and then disappears, and then he gives a fake name in The Rock, and he's just the badass British operative, and they've lined everything up, and it's kind of, as far as fan theories go, it's convincing.
Seb, I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you. I love Nick Cage as much as you guys, but he's not James Bond. Okay.
Sean Connery,
not Nick Cage.
and you know who I want to see? Who I want to see be a James Bond? They actually auditioned him for a while. What's that guy's name? He's so cool.
Idris Elba.
Yes.
Who?
How did you even think the same thing? Exactly.
That's what I think should be James Bond.
Yeah, I missed the name.
Perfect.
Either Idris or Idris Elba.
Oh yeah.
From Luther and all that shit. I mean, he's done tons of stuff at this point. But dude, he's a stone cold badass, and he looks great in a suit.
Yeah.
And I was a Wire fan.
Oh,
I mean, I think he'd be on.
He's in the Wire too.
He's maybe too good for Bond, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
but yeah, he was awesome as the bad guy in the last Fast and Furious movie. By the way.
Oh shit! No way. No, okay.
Yeah,
I've not seen the last one. Okay.
Hobbs and Shaw. Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't do it because they pulled in the Cyber Soldier or whatever, some stupid crap. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this. This is stupid. But
I
okay.
highly recommend it. It's pretty good, actually. It was by the director of John Wick. But back
Oh
to
no!
Sean Connery.
Get out of here,
Wow.
Yeah.
guys! What if Nicolas Cage was John Wick?
I don't think it will work.
No, you don't think so?
It would be a different movie. It would have to be a different movie because he would not be able to do the training, or like I don't know. I mean, not that he couldn't. Apparently, he trained like crazy for Con Air, and that's why he has that like. He's ridiculously muscular when he's like
the abs. Yeah, you remember the biceps? Yeah, they were quite
he's completely jacked. Yeah,
that was a long time ago, though.
Yeah, and he sounds like he's a pretty pretty intense guy. So I mean, if he was really motivated too, but yeah, it would be hard for him to do what Keanu did.
So we need to talk about this. So I hear you guys know about this more than I do, but I hear he takes method acting to another level. What do you guys know about this?
I don't know much about it. I heard him on a podcast once, and he did say that he had to stop doing jiu-jitsu because he was like choke holding too many people. So I think he's like, I think he has a problem kind of like, just, he kind of, everything bleeds, his work bleeds into his life and vice versa.
Interesting.
So I would not I would not be surprised.
I tell you what I heard, right? And this makes me laugh every time. I watched an interview with the guy, and he talks about, you've got method acting, and then you've got like the Stanislavski school, which are the two main ones. And then in this, he's like, no. He's like, I've thrown them away. I've invented my own way of acting, which is the best way of acting. I was like, oh, what's it called? I call it shamanic realism. And it just cracked me up. And he starts talking like about channeling spirit guides and stuff.
That just sounds like Nicolas Cage playing himself, okay?
Yeah. So I love that. I need to look more into like what is shamanic realism. I really I want the guy to give like a like these massively online courses. I want Nicolas Cage shamanic realism 101. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard that he will show up on movie sets doing an accent, and the directors can't change his mind. Like, there was, I think Kick-Ass was an example of that. Like he did the accent in Kick-Ass, or there was some accent he did in Kick-Ass or something like that. And then there was a movie back in the day where he does this. Well, I'm sure Vampire's Kiss is the same thing because he's nuts in it. But there is Moonstruck. Moonstruck was one where he came up with that. He has this crazy.
I can't believe I haven't seen this movie.
I've not heard of it.
They look unbelievable. You've got to see Joanne, our friend Joanne Shields. Okay. I mean,
It won a bunch of Oscars.
Yeah.
I had not seen it in a million years. I heard it some people say it didn't age that well, which is not that unusual for comedies. Well, but we're seeing,
I gotta say, I don't find My Cousin Vinny classic, to be honest. I know a lot of people will find that upsetting, but it really wasn't funny. But
I have to rewatch
I'll take a look at it. Yeah.
There are so few comedies. Sorry, I was going to say there are so few comedies that pass the age of the test of time.
Yes, they don't. They generally don't. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. That's a golden observation, for sure.
So we've got
and that's about it.
Just under 9 minutes left of the podcast. Ooh. So I think I want to give a quick kind of quick mention to another underappreciated film, but then I think we should talk about Nick Cage outside the films. There's a lot of crazy facts about this guy, which I think deserve a good 5 minutes to talk about. But before we get onto that, I want to mention 8mm. Which I think is fantastic. You don't like it?
I mean,
I really like that film.
I tried. Listen, but I was a teenager back then. Listen, first of all, the subject matter is gross.
It's a challenging film. It's a really hard film to watch.
It's awful, and you watch the movie and you feel even more gross about it. It's a difficult movie, man. You go ahead.
No, I just say, kind of parallel what Jack was saying earlier about Leaving Las Vegas, it's an incredibly hard film to watch because the subject matter is appalling. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going down that rabbit hole. I thought it was unlike. I haven't seen it for years and years and years, so maybe it hasn't aged well. But I remember at the time thinking this is really challenging. It's unlike anything I've seen before. Yeah, this is.
I saw it when it came out, so that was, it had to have been 20, 25 years at this point. Yeah. And all I remember is Gandolfini is in it, and he plays a bad guy.
Is that the our friend from Sopranos? Is that him?
That's right, James Gandolfini.
Oh, the bad guy. Okay, interesting.
Wow, did not know that. All right. So, what's your? Okay, we've got 5 or 6 minutes left. What's your favourite crazy Nicolas Cage real life fact? Because there's a ton of facts about this guy.
Oh. That's a good question. I'm not sure I actually know anything about the real guy.
Oh, honestly, you can do like top 20 lists on this guy. He is crazy. In a nice way.
In a very nice way. Just to finish that thought, but he doesn't sound like he's good with money. So I'll start with the fact that he went bankrupt.
Let's talk about why he did all these bad movies. Yes, please.
He went bankrupt partially because he bought a Tyrannosaurus Rex skull.
Can you blame the guy? He
not only got the skull for like $2.1 million, he outbid Leonardo DiCaprio for it in the auction.
Yes, what a hero for a T-Rex skull. I mean, come on, the guy's a hero.
His spending spree: two castles. Dinosaur skull. Sorry, Jack, go on.
Which kid did not want to grow up buying a fucking T-Rex? The guy's a hero.
Oh.
And and this is and there's again, we've discussed this. Like, there's kind of a genius to the madness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I also heard a story. I know somebody that was PAing or something, and because I'm in outside Los Angeles, went to his house and the walkway, like going through his house in LA, because apparently he's got a couple of different residences. But the hot walkway go through in LA was all like first edition, like Superman comic books on the wall and stuff like that. He's totally is like a little kid who got rich and is like, I can buy anything. I mean, he comes from movie royalty. He's like related to Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah, that's right, guys.
He was originally Nicolas Cage Coppola. Fair to him, he dropped the Coppola because he wanted to make it on his own, and
that's right. That's my
successful.
Favorite fact.
I mean, really.
Sorry, I forgot to mention it.
I love that.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
I changed my name so people don't think I, got a privilege. But it's like, well, you kind of did, didn't you? Changing your name's not gonna hide that.
Dude, how cool is that?
It's cool.
It's more skin in the game than less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He didn't do that.
I'll give you that.
And he. Like we were talking about with Brad Pitt, he was early on. Again, I think he was just like, just doing, just trying to find whatever. But he did some pretty interesting roles. I mean, he did at 23 years old. He got involved with the Coen brothers and starred in one of their first movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when they were just two broke brothers making indie gangster dramas and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I want to give my favourite Nicolas Cage fact. You've got the weird, crazy pyramid tombs, and he bought a house in New Orleans for a few $1 million, like the most haunted house in New Orleans. And when someone asked him why, he was like, "Oh, I want to write a horror book, so I'm just going to live in there and write a horror book." But my absolute favourite Nicolas Cage fact is that he has a very popular, licensed, corn-based snack in Japan, which is like a corn stick of his likeness. And I've got it here. It's called Deluxe Nicolas Sticks, which I absolutely love.
Fuck.
And I'm gonna, again, for the YouTube video, I'm gonna flash up an image of these things because they're just, you have to see them to believe
all
them.
I want to know is how many bitcoins is it to own?
One Deluxe Nicolas Stick.
We need to try these. We need to get a pack of these each.
We do. I'm going to try and find some on Japanese Amazon, see if we can get them shipped over. So I need to ship you guys Marmite and Deluxe Nicolas Sticks. That's going to be in your care package.
Yeah. Okay. Oh God. What have we done, Jack? What have we done?
So Trishank, have you got any facts,
go ahead.
Trishank, or
No, other than what Jack mentioned, which is that, what is the thing? That he changed his name. He changed his family name. He didn't have to. I found that cool. That's impressive.
Skin in the game to a certain extent, you know. I
will say one thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. No, you go ahead.
The worst. Oh God, I wish I hadn't seen it. Oh God, please, guys, don't watch it. But Color Out of Space. It's horrible, awful. Alex, if you're watching this, you were wrong. It's an awful movie.
That's the girlfriend that drove my That's the movie that drove my girlfriend to insanity.
Okay, so I do not blame your girlfriend. Okay, she watched the wrong freaking Nick Cage movies.
I fell asleep during it, and she watched the whole thing. And afterwards, she said, she's like, I hate Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, listen,
I never want to watch a Nicolas Cage movie ever again.
I don't. Yeah, it's a fucked up movie. Do not watch it. It's fucked up. I don't know what is wrong with these people. Yeah.
Nice. All right. On that note, then we're coming up. We've got a minute and a half left, so I think I'm gonna pass over to Trishank or Jack to wrap this up.
Jack, please do the honors.
Well, okay. All I'm saying is we talked about a lot of stuff, and we got to post all these posts because a lot of these things are gonna be visual.
Yeah.
So we'll try and come up with a list of video clips. I'll look for Vampire's Kiss and all this, but we'll come up with a list.
Oh yeah.
And turn this into a Twitter thread and something like that. You know what I mean?
I'll do a bit of post editing on this and stick the clips in between. Assuming we don't get like a takedown warning from YouTube or something.
Try to make us look better than we actually are. That would be helpful.
But if folks
said no CGI.
Yeah.
Done. Terrible CGI. Oh. Cool.
All right. Well, it sounds like that's a wrap, man. I mean, I think you can find us at Fat Tony's on Twitter, and I don't know. Do you guys have any plugs?
No, man.
All right.
You know where to find us on Twitter. Usual suspects. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Well, it's been a lot of fun, guys.
Yeah, it's been cool.
This is cool.
Awesome. All right, guys.
Do this again. Ciao.
Definitely.
Ciao, guys.
All right, guys. See you next time, and we'll post what we're doing on Twitter. Who the next victim, for want of a better word, is going to be.
Jim Carrey.
Cool, guys. Take care.
Exactly. Ciao. Bye now.